knee. In the ancient valley of Elah, two great armies stood poised for war. The Israelites, servants of the one true God, faced the formidable Philistines. For 40 long days, a shadow of fear loomed over the Israelite camp. It was the shadow of a giant, a man named Goliath of Gath. Stood over 9 feet tall, a mountain of muscle and bronze. Every morning and every evening, he would stride out, his voice booming across the valley, mocking the armies of Israel and their God. He wore a bronze helmet, a coat of mail weighing over 100 pounds, and carried a spear with a tip like a weaver's beam. His challenge was simple: send out a man to fight me. If he wins, we will be your slaves. But if I win, you will be our slaves. King Saul and all his soldiers were terrified. Not a single warrior dared to face him. The entire army was paralyzed by fear. Who could possibly defeat such a monster? Meanwhile, far from the battlefield, in the peaceful fields of Bethlehem, a young shepherd boy named David was tending his father's flock. He was the youngest of 8 sons, a boy of ruddy complexion, with a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. His days were spent with the sheep, protecting them from lions and bears, with nothing but his staff and his sling. His father, Jesse, said to him one day, "Take this roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers in the army, and see how they are doing." So, David rose early, left the sheep with a keeper, and journeyed to the camp. He arrived just as the army was going out to the battle lines, shouting the war cry. As he was talking with his brothers, Goliath emerged, roaring his usual challenge. When the Israelites saw the giant, they all ran from him in great fear. David heard the taunts and saw the terror in the eyes of his countrymen. His heart burned with righteous anger. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine?" he asked the men standing near him, "that he should defy the armies of the living God?" David's oldest brother, Eliab, overheard him and was angry. "Why have you come down here?" he sneered. "And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? Oh, I know your pride and the insolence of your heart. You have come down to see the battle." But David's spirit was not deterred. He knew this was not just a battle between 2 men, but a test of faith. David's bold words reached King Saul, who sent for him. When David stood before the king, he said with unwavering confidence, "Let no one's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight this Philistine." Saul looked at the young shepherd, small and without armor, and said, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him. You are only a boy, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David had a powerful reply. He told Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. A servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God, the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul, moved by David's incredible faith, finally agreed. "Go on," he said, "and may the Lord be with you." Saul then tried to dress David in his own tunic, putting a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. Sure. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around, but he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them off. He was not going to rely on the weapons of man, but on the power of God. Instead, he took his shepherd's staff in his hand and went down to the stream. There, he chose 5 smooth stones, placing them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag. With his sling in his hand, he approached the Philistine. Goliath looked at David and sneered with contempt. He saw not a warrior, but a boy. ruddy and handsome. "Am I a dog," he bellowed, "that you come to me with sticks?" And he cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he roared, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." The giant was confident in his size, his strength, and his armor. He saw only a shepherd boy. He did not see the heart of a lion and the faith of a giant. David's reply rang out across the valley, full of courage and faith. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." With those words, the battle began. As Goliath moved closer to attack, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it with all his might. The stone flew through the air, true and straight, and struck the Philistine on his forehead. It sank deep into his skull, and the giant warrior, the terror of Israel, stumbled and fell face down on the ground. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of Goliath's own sword. The shepherd boy had defeated the giant, drew it from its sheath, and killed him, cutting off his head. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Great shout rose from the Israelite army as they pursued the Philistines, chasing them all the way to the gates of their cities. The victory was total, and it was won not by the might of an army, but by the faith of a single boy. Slot. David's victory over Goliath is more than just a story about a small boy defeating a big giant. It teaches us that being strong doesn't always mean having big muscles. It's a powerful lesson that our battles are not won by our own strength, but by our faith in God. It teaches us that no giant, no obstacle, no challenge in our lives is too big when we trust in the Lord. Just like David, we can face our own Goliath fear, doubt, anxiety, or any seemingly impossible situation with courage, knowing that the battle belongs to the Lord. His strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. This story reminds us that God often chooses the unlikely, the humble, and the small, accomplish God's greatest works. He doesn't look at outward appearance, but at the heart. David's heart was fully devoted to God, and that made all the difference. What are the giants you are facing in your life today? Remember David. David trusted God, and that made him brave. Even when others were afraid, David believed he was not alone. The story reminds children that with faith, courage, and doing what is right, even small people can overcome big problems. Pick up your 5 smooth stones. Put your faith to action. Use your courage. Trust in God's promises. Run towards your giant, not away from it. For the same God who delivered David is with you today. We rededicated to bringing these timeless stories from the Bible to life in a new and powerful way. If you were blessed by this video, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that with God, all things are possible. Thank you for